Ordinarily, how to consolidate on these milestones ought to be the focus of the future, but that future is clouded with apprehension as the exit of 3 of its members had cast a looming shadow of uncertainty over its prospects for further growth. This event offers an opportunity to reflect on the sacrifices that have been made, challenges overcome, and the future envisaged, standing and building on the achievements of the last 50 years towards building the ECOWAS of the future and ECOWAS of the people. In Accra, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
And still from Accra, Ghana, Calvin Ewonwaye reports that the President of Ghana, John Mahama, has announced 1,000 scholarships for students of higher institutions in West Africa to study in Ghana. This is part of Ghana's contribution to building a bond of friendship among young persons in the sub-region.
As host of the ECOWAS 50th anniversary launch, President John Mahama is advocating more investment by ECOWAS countries in soft diplomacy, emphasizing that a lot more can be achieved through dialogue. A reason he said Ghana appointed an envoy to the 3 Sahel nations of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso.
Whether it has been in restoring peace in Liberia and Sierra Leone, in guiding the Gambia through a difficult political transition, or preventing the electoral crisis in Côte d'Ivoire, Togo, ECOWAS has proven that African solutions through African diplomacy can and do work. We must not take this legacy lightly. It is one we must protect. It is one we must deepen and refine in the face of new and emerging challenges.
The 1,000 scholarship is expected to be spread among ECOWAS countries with the hope of raising a new generation of leaders to serve as torchbearers for the future of the sub-region. In Accra, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
The World Food Programme said on Tuesday that it was suspending aid for 650,000 malnourished women and children in Ethiopia because of a lack of funding. The UN agency warned there were among 3.6 million people in Ethiopia who would no longer have access to food aid in the coming weeks without a new urgent funding. From Apanya reports.
Food Programme is forced to halt treatment for 650,000 malnourished women and children in May due to insufficient funding, it said in a statement. World Food Programme had planned to reach 2 million mothers and children with life-saving nutrition assistance in 2025, it added. Like other aid agencies, the World Food Programme has been caught in the network of funding cuts by U.S. President Donald Trump, who signed an executive order freezing all foreign aid for 3 months shortly after his inauguration in January. More than 10 million people are facing hunger in the East African country of about 130 million, the UN agency says. Ethiopia is also seeing a surge of refugees from neighboring Sudan, gripped by civil war since April 2023, and South Sudan, long marred by instability. The World Food Programme added that cash and food assistance for up to 1 million refugees will also stop in June if additional funding is not received and the number of people fleeing violence in South Sudan continues. Ethiopia, a landlocked country in the Horn of Africa, is also facing intense drought, particularly in its Somali region on the border with Somalia. Frama Panyi, NTA News.
2 million Nigerians, mostly women and youth, are the intended targets of a mass empowerment scheme being worked out in a collaboration between Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu's Renewed Hope Initiative and leadership newspapers. Chairman of the newspaper, Zainab Ndazaya, led her management team to the office of the First Lady where the proposed partnership was sealed. State House correspondent Adeni Taiwo reports.
Leading a 5-man delegation to the office of Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu, the chairman of leadership newspapers, Zainab Nda Isaiah, says her organization has taken due note of the activities of the First Lady's pet project, Renewed Hope Initiative, and is impressed with the impact of its interventions. The organization hopes to expand the scope of these interventions with a proposed collaboration that will ultimately put economic power in the hands of about 2 million Nigerians.
The important role of more or less taking care of the less privileged in the nation, those places where people, many times they say many things but really don't make an impact. I see your impact. So I thought it pertinent to just lead a team here to say we support you, we see you, and we appreciate what you're doing for our nation.
The idea is to trade in 5 designated areas. It includes tie and dye, fishery, leather works, an additional 2 other initiatives designed to meet the needs of different sectors of the economy. The idea, therefore, is that once you're able to train about 1,000 persons, 1,000 persons will train additional 4 persons each.
With its potential to further scale up economic empowerment among Nigerians, the proposed collaboration ties in with the vision of RHI, and the First Lady expressed willingness to partner with the newspapers.
Yours is, a credible organization. I believe that with all that you are doing, you just want to do good and partner with that. So wherever state you want to work in, you let us know, how many numbers you want to empower. And then once we have the number, then we can always, get going.
This is the first time that RHI is officially partnering with a media organization on its economic empowerment program. In the State House, Adeni Itaiwo, NTA News.
The United Nations has convened a background briefing for international media, which included the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, with COP30 President-designate Andre Correa do Lago and Special Advisor to the United Nations Secretary-General on the upcoming meetings of 6 leaders and the Conference of Parties in Berlin, Brazil. The virtual press conference was convened ahead of the representative group of heads of state and government, which comes up tomorrow to discuss how to strengthen global efforts to tackle the climate crisis and accelerate a just energy transition. With the EU poised to be part of the meeting, discussions were on the nationally determined contributions, NDCs, and the need for countries to step up their commitment ahead of COP30, with September as timeline for submission.
I believe that for us to reach 1.3 trillion, we have to really rethink many of the bases on which we have been discussing finance under the UNFCCC and the Paris Accord. But all that is to be seen in the preparation of COP30 and for you all to come to Berlin.
Issues raised bordered on the escalating climate event, the withdrawal of the US from the Paris Accord, and the potential of the next Conference of Parties, COP30, providing a different perspective from the last 2 COPs. Others were on redoubling efforts on renewable energy financing as well as transparency in negotiations. Today marks World Earth Day, a global day of unity dedicated to reflecting on man's environmental obligations while taking decisive steps towards a sustainable future. Under the theme, Our Power, Our Planet, a worldwide call is being made to bolster support for renewable energy and to empower individuals to actively contribute to a cleaner and greener world. Earth, the fundamental source of all life and matter, currently faces a significant environmental crisis driven by pressing concerns, including climate change, pollution, deforestation, and the loss of biodiversity.
We have been damaging the environment for over a decade. We have been excreting, polluting, and destroying it without giving back to it.
A key aspect of this year's Earth Day is the encouragement of education, support, and the implementation of renewable energy solutions. This includes solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal power, offering viable alternatives to traditional energy source. World Earth Day 2025's theme, Our Power, Our Planet, serves as a call to action and a reminder that the health of the planet is inextricably linked to human well-being, and that the future of the planet rests in the collective hands of all and sundry. Blessed with abundant sun and wind, Nigeria's net zero target of 2060, its gradual move away from fossil fuels to renewable energy, the CNG and electric vehicles initiatives align with this global call for renewable energy and environmental justice.
The earth is where we have for now. They have not been able to find a way for us to be translated to the moon and all of that. So we must keep it alive. We must sustain it and hand it over to our children.
People should be a lot aware about the pollution, plastic, the environment. We need to keep the environment safe. We need to keep the air.
Celebrated annually on the 22nd of April, Earth Day engages over 1 billion people across more than 190 countries. This widespread participation underscores the global recognition of the urgent need for environmental action. The Vatican has released the date for burial of the late Pope Francis alongside images of the late Pope in an open coffin dressed in a red robe, papal mitre on his head and a rosary in his hands. Let's get more details from Framapai.
Pontiff's death has prompted an outpouring of grief from Catholics across the globe. His body was displayed on Monday evening in an open coffin, which he had requested should be made of wood and zinc. His remains lay in the chapel of Casa Santa Marta, the Vatican residence where he lived. Pope Francis, who died of stroke on Monday at the age of 88, will be taken to St. Peter's Basilica on Wednesday morning, where his casket will remain until burial for the public to pay their respect. Francis had already requested that he will be buried in the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore in Rome. In his will, he said he wanted a simple honor-done tomb with the only inscription, Franciscus, Francis in Latin. Francis died of cerebral stroke coma, irreversible cardiocirculatory collapse, according to a death certificate released by the Vatican. His funeral will take place in the morning on Saturday at the presence of worshippers and dignitaries at the square in front of St. Peter's Basilica before a conclave of cardinals who will converge to elect a successor. The Pope, before his death, was admitted at Rome's Gemelli Hospital on February 14th with bronchitis, which later turned into double pneumonia that almost killed him twice. He left hospital on March 23 and was due to undergo a strict 2-month convalescence period. However, the late Pope had made series of impromptu public appearances, looking increasingly weak. World leaders and faithful from across the globe are expected to flock to Rome to attend the ceremony and pay their respects to the leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics. Following the death of Pope Francis, Cardinal Kevin Farrell is currently the acting head of the Vatican. Meanwhile, Catholic faithful the world over have continued to hold mass and vigils, while flags are at half-mast in some countries and organizations in honor of the late pontiff.
It is too bad that we've lost him in a season of happiness, welcoming the risen Christ. But on the other hand, somehow we feel happy that maybe he has risen with the risen Christ.
The day he washed the president of Sudan, when he washed his legs, that was really something I couldn't forget about him.
Frama Panyi, NTA News.
National Hajj Commission of Nigeria concludes arrangements for 2025 Hajj. We will talk to you about that when we return from the break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria has concluded arrangements to commence the 2025 Hajj operations with the airlift of pilgrims to Saudi Arabia starting from May 9th, 2025. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports that the update was disclosed after the NACON board briefed Vice President Kashim Shettima at the presidential villa on preparations for the 2025 Hajj operations.
A meeting in preparation for a spiritual exercise, and Vice President Kashim Shettima charged the commission to ensure its success. Board members, led by the executive chairman, said arrangements have been made in Mecca, Medina, and other cities for a hitch-free 2025 exercise, part of which is the securing of enough bed spaces and adequate feeding. May 9th is scheduled for airlift of the first flight to Saudi Arabia through Medina, and intend to conclude the airlift by May 24th and start the return by 13th of June to 2nd of July.
We came here just to brief the Vice President about the preparedness for the Hajj operation for this year, 2025.
I can assure all Nigerian pilgrims that they are all in a safe hand. Adequate arrangements have been made for both their accommodation, their feeding, and also their transportation within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and most importantly, their airlifting in and out of Saudi Arabia.
All our centers across the nation, booklets are ready, waiting for pilgrims to come and apply, and it's issued to them accordingly.
Adequate arrangements have been made for the airlift of over 40,000 pilgrims, including officials from the states, and 13,000 others from other tour operators in Nigeria. From the State House, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
Following concerns on the safety of genetically modified organisms, which include plants, animals, and microorganisms, to improve nutritional values and increase yields, the federal government says GMOs are safe and geared towards food security. Elizabeth Omori, at a workshop on harnessing biotechnology for sustainable agricultural development and improved public health, reports that the Minister of State Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Isaac Dekule Salako, gave the assurance.
The debate surrounding genetically modified organism, experts in biotechnology say is complex and multifaceted. While some argue that GMO offers benefits, others raise concerns over safety, potential health risks such as allergies, cancer, and environmental impacts. And this meeting intends to erase doubts as research continues on genetic engineering techniques.
Government has also put in place mechanism to ensure that those deployments of biotechnology is done within a regulatory framework that keeps it safe for Nigeria. So I can use this opportunity to assure Nigerians that within that regulatory frameworks, biotechnology is safe, whether in agriculture, whether in health, whether in the environmental sector.
In Nigeria, several genetically modified crops have been approved for commercial use, with soybeans and sorghum awaiting approval. But traceability, labeling of GMO products are still concerns.
And we are using biofertilizer to stay away from this chemical fertilizer so that we can use in our farm. And there is an industry of multi-billion-dollar across the globe using this technology. And that is why Nigeria has chosen this biotechnology to be part of the engine room for economic development.
Experts emphasized the need for assessment and regulation to ensure public trust. Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu felicitates with the Emir of Ilorin, Ibrahim Sulu Gambari, on his 85th birthday. Sulu Gambari is a former Justice of the Court of Appeal and pioneer Solicitor General and Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Justice in Old Gongola State. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in the same vein, has congratulated legal icon Adeniji Kazeem SAN on his unanimous selection as the president of the Ansar-Din Society worldwide at the Society's Triennial Delegates Conference in Abuja, the Ogun State capital. The Inspector General of Police Kayode Bedikun has announced the immediate reorganization of the police mobile force to focus primarily on its mandates of responding to emergencies. The IGP gave the directive at a meeting with the squadron commanders in Abuja. Francis Form reports.
Moving forward, indiscipline and misconduct within the NPF will no longer be tolerated.
It is the Inspector General of Police High-Level Conference with 84 Police Mobile Force Squadron Commanders held at the Force Headquarters in Abuja. The IGP emphasized the urgent need to reposition the Police Mobile Force in line with its original mandate as an elite tactical unit equipped to respond swiftly to riots, emergencies, and violent threats.
Today marks the beginning of a new era, one defined by accountability, discipline, and a recommitment to our founding values. All PMF squadrons are directed to maintain at least one fully equipped, combat-ready unit on standby at all times. These units must be prepared to support their respective state commands in any situation requiring urgent tactical intervention. Additionally, each squadron will be required to send one unit for training every quarter. These sessions will go beyond operational proficiency, placing strong emphasis on ethics, professionalism, and the principles of responsible policing.
He expressed concern over the increasing diversion of Police Mobile Force personnel to non-core duties, including escort, guard services for private individuals, and VIPs. The IGP urged the squadron commanders to lead by example through consistent training, mentorship, and routine inspections aimed at upholding operational excellence and respect for human rights. Francis from NTA News.
Let's bring you now our weather report. And this is where we end the news. Many thanks for watching. I am Charles Alpha. Shegwa Jai has been our sign language interpreter.